When I think about some of the most time-consuming and difficult aspects of the years that I was in university, I'm a physical therapy student, and I know that frustration when you've read so much, but your literature review still doesn't feel clear. In physical therapy, precision matters. You can't just guess. You need evidence you can trace back, save properly, and pull up fast when it's time to write. And honestly, for me, the hardest part was never only finding papers. AI makes that easier now. It was saving and organizing them in a way I could actually trust and reuse. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through 4 easy but effective methods to find, cite, and save research papers into a library you can keep coming back to, and I'll show you exactly how I do it using an AI tool called Anara. Anara is built around keeping your research organized with folders and a searchable workspace, and it's designed to give you citations so you can verify what you're using instead of taking AI at its word. So if your PDFs are scattered across tabs, downloads, and random folders, and you're tired of losing the one perfect paper right when you need it, this is for you. Let's get into it. Let's start with the exact pain point most of us have. You're writing a sentence that sounds true, but you can't prove it fast. And in physical therapy, that's not a small problem. If you can't trace the evidence, you can't trust the claim. So here's what I do inside Anara. I keep my draft open on one side, and I treat Anara like a research assistant who must show receipts. Anara is built to search major academic databases like PubMed, Archive, and JSTOR, and return answers with citations so you can verify them. So imagine I'm writing about musculoskeletal diseases, and my focus is distal biceps. I'll write a placeholder sentence in my draft like, distal biceps tendon ruptures are clinically significant because they can reduce supination strength and impact daily function. Then I highlight the claim and I ask Anara a very specific question that forces it to retrieve sources, not vibes. The kind of prompt I'd use sounds like this. Find peer-reviewed clinical studies or reviews that quantify functional deficits after distal biceps tendon rupture, especially supination flexion strength, and summarize the key findings in 5 to 7 bullet points, each with an inline citation I can click. Now here's the proof moment that matters for academic work. When Anara responds, I don't just copy. I click the citations, open the source, and confirm the wording matches what I'm claiming. That's the difference between looking productive and actually being safe. Because the fastest way to ruin a literature review isn't slow writing. It's building your argument on a citation you didn't verify. And Anara explicitly frames this as trusted sources and citations in every response, which is exactly the behavior we need for academic integrity. Okay, method 2 is about stopping the chaos. PDFs in downloads. Tabs you'll come back to. That's not a workflow, that's a leak. Anara is designed as a research workspace where you can import files and then immediately start asking questions. And importantly, Anara also offers a Chrome extension, which means you can capture research materials while you're browsing, instead of doing that "I'll organize later" lie we all tell ourselves. So if I'm on PubMed searching distal biceps tendon rupture repair outcomes, I'm not trying to memorize what I saw, I'm importing what matters into the same project space. In practice, I treat it like building a clinical chart. Every paper I might cite goes into the patient file, my project folder, not scattered across my desktop. Once it's in Anara, I can immediately ask, extract the study design, population, intervention, repair technique, outcomes, follow-up time, and the key results, then quote the exact lines that support each outcome. The warning here is simple. Importing is not the same as understanding. If you only collect papers, you're building a library you're scared to open. The goal is not to hoard PDFs. The goal is to create a trusted system you can reuse when it's time to write. This is where Anara starts to feel less like a tool and more like infrastructure. Anara is designed to help you build a single searchable library for all your research materials, and it also mentions integration with tools like Zotero. So instead of dumping everything into one folder called Papers, I create a workspace specifically for my review, something like Distal Biceps Lit Review, and I organize it the way I actually think when I write. For example, I'll create folders that match the logic of a literature review: background and epidemiology, mechanism and risk factors, diagnosis and imaging, surgical versus non-surgical management, rehab protocols, complications and re-rupture, and gaps and future directions. Then, when I import a paper, I don't just store it, I place it where it will be used. And here's the part that saves you when deadlines hit. Because the library is searchable, you're not relying on memory. You're relying on retrieval. If my supervisor asks, where's the evidence for outcomes at 6 months post-repair? I'm not panicking. I'm searching inside the project and pulling the paper in seconds. The warning, don't over-organize to procrastinate. If you spend 2 hours color-coding folders, but you can't explain the trend in the evidence, you're decorating the problem. Your organization should make synthesis easier, not replace it. Now we do the part that actually fixes going in circles. The reason your literature review feels stuck is usually not because you haven't read enough. It's because you haven't forced the reading to produce decisions. What do we know? What do we disagree on? What's missing? Anara supports understanding a file or a group of files by importing them and asking questions. And it also supports asking questions in chat that pull from major academic databases, again, with citations. This is where you can behave like a researcher, not a highlighter. I'll open a single distal biceps paper and ask, what was the main question? What methods were used? What outcomes were measured? And what were the limitations that affect generalizability? Give me direct quotes with citations. Then I'll step up a level and ask across multiple papers in a folder. Compare outcomes between different repair techniques reported in this folder. Where do results converge and where do they conflict? List the likely reasons, population differences, follow-up time, outcome measures, and cite the specific studies. And once you have those comparisons, drafting becomes mechanical. I'll ask, create a literature review outline for distal biceps tendon rupture management that builds toward a clear research gap. Use headings that reflect the evidence trends and controversies, and under each heading list, 3-5 key papers with a one-line takeaway. Anara is explicitly positioned to help you synthesize knowledge by asking questions across many papers to compare findings and identify gaps. The warning, AI can accelerate synthesis, but it can also accelerate mistakes. If you don't verify citations and you don't read the key papers yourself, you can end up with a confident outline built on shallow understanding. Use Anara to speed up the search and structure, then you apply judgment like a clinician, test the claim, verify the source, and only then write it into your argument. If you want, I can now rewrite the method 1.4 section again, but in your exact voiceover plus on-screen actions plus prompts typed format, so you can record it like Amina's style. And I'll tailor the prompt specifically for distal biceps, rupture, repair, rehab, complications, based on the paper set you're using. I really hope this video made your research life feel a little lighter. If you've been collecting papers everywhere, but still struggling to find what you need when it's time to write, that's exactly what these 4 methods are meant to fix. I'll leave the links in the description so you can try Anara for yourself. And if you want to follow the same workflow I used, start by creating one clean project for your topic. Import just a few key papers, and then use the chat to force clarity. What did they do? What did they find? And what's the gap you can actually defend? And I want to turn this into a real knowledge exchange, not a one-way lesson. Comment your topic and tell me the exact part you're stuck on right now, finding papers, organizing them, or turning them into an outline, because I'm going to use real viewer topics for the next video. If you want more help with literature reviews and you also like having AI support in a way that's still ethical and traceable, watch the other videos on my channel. The tools I regularly use are linked below as well. If this helped, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.